Ethan Cole walks through the airport like he owns the world. His black suit shining under the lights, his shoes clicking on the marble floor. People turn their heads when they see him, some whisper his name, some take pictures with their phones. Everyone knows who he is, the billionaire who built a company from nothing, the man who can buy almost anything. He smiles as he walks through the VIP lane. His assistant Mia follows behind carrying his bag. Her face looks nervous, but Ethan does not notice. He is used to this kind of attention. He loves it. The flashing cameras, the whispers, the feeling that he is above everyone else. The airline staff greet him with polite smiles, but they look uncomfortable. The flight is full and there has been some mix-up with the seats. Ethan waves his hand as if to say it is no problem, he always gets what he wants, but something feels strange today. The woman at the counter looks down at her computer. Her eyebrows pull together. She types again and again. Her face turns pale. Ethan asks what is wrong. The woman bites her lip and says softly, "I am sorry, sir, but your ticket has been canceled." Ethan laughs, his deep, confident laugh that makes people obey him. "There must be some mistake," he says, "I never get." "Canceled, check again." The woman calls for her manager. People nearby begin to stare, whispering louder. Now the famous Ethan Cole being told no. The manager arrives, a tall man with tired eyes. He looks at the screen, then at Ethan and says, "Sir, your name is on the list for denied boarding." Ethan's smile fades. For the first time he feels something heavy in his chest. "What do you mean, denied boarding?" he asks, his voice calm but sharp. The manager explains that there has been a report about a passenger's behavior on a previous flight. The system flagged his name automatically. Ethan stares in disbelief. "Behavior report? What behavior? I fly every week." The manager lowers his voice and says, "Sir, it seems there was an issue with your assistant yelling at a crew member last month. The airline reviewed it and placed a temporary restriction." Ethan turns to Mia. His assistant, she freezes her hands, shaking. I did not mean to," she whispers. "I only asked for a private cabin because you were tired." Ethan's jaw tightens. He cannot believe this. A small misunderstanding now threatens his reputation. He looks around and notices people holding up their phones, filming him. He feels the heat rising in his face. This cannot be happening, not to him. The manager offers to rebook him for another flight tomorrow. Ethan says no, he has a business meeting tonight, he cannot wait. Security officers start walking toward the counter, their uniforms sharp, their expressions serious. Ethan feels trapped. His power means nothing here in this moment. He is just another passenger being told to step aside. The crowd grows larger. People whisper louder, some laugh quietly. Others feel sorry for him. Ethan's phone buzzes non-stop, messages from reporters already spreading. The news someone must have posted a video online. He takes a deep breath, trying to stay calm. He says to the manager, "I can buy this plane if I want." The manager nods politely and says, "I understand, sir. But rules are rules. Please step aside." Ethan looks at Mia. Her eyes are full of tears. She tries to apologize again, but he waves her away, angry and hurt. He does not want anyone to see his weakness. But deep inside, he feels it growing. The fear, the shame, the confusion. The officers stand beside him. Waiting, he straightens his jacket, lifts his chin and says, "Fine. I will leave, but you are making a huge mistake." He walks away slowly, his shoes no longer clicking proudly. They echo softly like a heartbeat, fading into silence. The crowd parts as he passes. Some people lower their phones, others keep filming. No one helps, no one speaks. He reaches a quiet corner of the airport and sits down for a moment. His phone rings again. His business partner calling, but he cannot answer. His hands are shaking. This has never happened to him before. He has lost deals before, faced angry investors, faced lawsuits. But this is different. This is personal. It feels like the world is laughing at him. He looks out the window and watches the plane. He was supposed to board, start to move down the runway. The engines roar, the wheels lift off the ground. He watches it rise higher and higher until it disappears into the clouds. He feels a strange emptiness in his chest. A small boy nearby tugs on his mother's arm and points at Ethan, whispering, "Mama, is that the rich man from TV?" The mother nods quietly and pulls her child away. Ethan turns his face away. He does not want to be seen. He does not want anyone to look at him right now. He thinks of calling his Lawyer but stops. He knows no law can fix the feeling inside him. The feeling that maybe he is not untouchable after all. He opens his wallet and stares at his gold card. His black card. All the power symbols that once made him feel safe, now they look useless. He closes his wallet and leans back in the chair. His heart heavy, his pride cracked. For the first time in many years, Ethan Cole sits alone in a public place. No cameras, no bodyguards, no applause, just silence, and the faint sound of planes leaving without him. And somewhere deep inside him a small voice whispers, "Maybe this is only the beginning." Ethan Cole sits in the quiet corner of the airport, his mind spinning like a storm inside him. The bright screens around him flash with flight, numbers and destinations, but his eyes see none of it. He hears people laughing somewhere nearby, and it feels like they are laughing at him. He had always been the man who never waited, the man who never begged, the man who always got his way, but today everything feels different. Everything feels heavy. His assistant Mia stands a few steps away, her hands shaking as she tries to speak. He ignores her, his pride too hurt to listen. She whispers, "I am sorry, Mr. Cole. I did not know this would happen." He looks at her without a word, his face calm but his eyes full of fire. She lowers her head and walks away, leaving him alone in the crowd that no longer cares who he is. Ethan pulls out his phone again, the screen filled with notifications, headlines, popping up everywhere. Billionaire denied boarding, billionaire thrown off flight. Shocking scene at airport. The internet has already turned his humiliation into entertainment. His social media flooded with comments. Some people mock him, others pretend to feel sorry, most just share the video over and over. He scrolls through the comments, each word cutting deeper than the last. Pride starts to fade, replaced by anger. How dare they talk about him like that? He built everything from scratch. He fed thousands of workers, he donated to charities, he changed industries. Yet none of that matters now to the crowd. He is just a man who got kicked off a plane and nothing more. He closes his phone and takes a deep breath. The air feels cold against his skin. His reflection in the glass looks unfamiliar. He looks older, weaker, smaller for the first time. He wonders what his life really means without the fame, without the money, without the power. As he sits there, lost in thought, an old man walks by, pushing a cleaning cart. His name tag says Lewis. He notices Ethan sitting alone and stops nearby, his face kind and wrinkled from years of hard work. "You look like you had a bad day, son," he says softly. Ethan looks up, surprised that someone dares to speak to him that way. No one has called him son in years, not since before he became the man the world feared and admired. Ethan says nothing at first, just stares. The old man pulls a bottle of water from his cart and holds it out. "Here you go. You look like you could use this." Ethan hesitates, then takes it. "Thank you," he says quietly. The words taste strange on his tongue. He cannot remember the last time he said them. Lewis smiles and leans on his mop handle. "I have seen many people cry in this airport, rich, poor, it makes no difference once you lose something important. We all look the same." Ethan looks away, embarrassed. "I am fine," he says. But his voice cracks. Lewis nods slowly. Fine is what people say when they are broken. Inside, Ethan feels something shift in his chest, a small flicker of humility. He tries to change the subject, asking how long the old man has worked here. Lewis laughs a long time, long enough to see the world change and people forget what really matters. For a moment they sit together in silence, the noise of the airport fading around them. Ethan feels something strange. Peace maybe, or maybe shame. Lewis finally speaks again. "Son, let me tell you something. Life has a funny way of showing us who we are when the spotlight turns off." Ethan looks at the old man, trying to understand his words. "You mean this is supposed to teach me something?" Lewis nods. "Maybe it is not about what happened. Maybe it is about what you do next." The announcement for another flight echoes across the terminal, and people start rushing past. Ethan watches them with distant eyes. He thinks about his company, his mansion, his cars, all the things he owns. Yet none of them can help him right now. Not one of them can fix the feeling in his chest. He stands up slowly, looking out the large window where planes rise and disappear into the sky. He used to think the sky belonged to him. Now he realizes it never did. He turns back to Lewis and asks, "How do you keep smiling every day?" "Cleaning floors." That others walk on. Lewis chuckles because, "Son, I do not measure my worth by where I work. I measure it by who I am inside, and no one can take that away from me." Ethan feels the words hit him deep. He wants to respond but finds no words. Instead, he nods and starts walking toward the exit. Lewis calls out behind him, "Take care of yourself, son, and remember the sky looks different when you stop trying to own it." Ethan pauses for a moment, then keeps walking, the echo of those words following him. Like a shadow, outside the airport, the city feels louder, brighter, and colder. The flashes of traffic lights blur in his eyes. People rush past him without noticing him at all. He used to be impossible to ignore. Now he is invisible. He pulls his coat tighter around himself and walks with no direction for the first time in years. He ends up near a small bus stop where travelers wait quietly. He stands among them, no one recognizing him. A light rain begins to fall, wetting his hair. He does not care. The smell of rain feels clean, like a new beginning. He looks up at the cloudy sky and whispers, "Maybe Lewis was right. Maybe this is just the start of something I do not understand yet." The bus arrives with a hiss of brakes. He hesitates, then steps, on board, paying with cash for the first time in a long time as he takes a seat. He looks out the window, the airport shrinking behind him. A strange calm filling his heart. The mighty billionaire now just another traveler heading somewhere unknown. Somewhere, deep inside him, a small voice says, "Maybe this fall is what will teach you how to rise again." The bus rattles down the road as Ethan Cole sits quietly by the window, his reflection flickering with every passing streetlight. He is not used to this kind of ride. The air smells like rain and metal. The seats are worn and sticky, but for some reason he does not mind. Maybe because it feels real. He watches the people around him. A tired mother with a sleeping child. A young man with headphones, and old lady holding a paper bag. Everyone lost in their own small world. None of them looking at him. None of them knowing who he is. Ethan feels strange, almost invisible, yet free for once. No reporters, no guards, no phones pointing at him, just silence and the hum of the bus. He leans his head against the glass and remembers the old man Lewis, his gentle voice still echoing in his mind. The sky looks different when you stop trying to own it. He whispers those words again and again until they feel heavy with meaning. The bus stops near a small town. Ethan has never been here before. The sign outside says, "Welcome to Maple Creek." He steps off the bus, the cold air biting his face. The streets are quiet. Small shops line the road, their lights dimming. For the night, a stray dog crosses the street, its paws splashing in puddles. Ethan follows the road, unsure where he is going. His shoes soaked, his mind spinning. He passes a small diner with a glowing red sign, "Open 24 hours." He hesitates for a moment, then walks in. The smell of coffee and fried eggs fills the air. A waitress with tired eyes looks up from the counter and says, "Take any seat, sugar." Ethan nods and sits near the window. She pours him a cup of coffee without asking. He watches the steam rise and feels something warm inside, a feeling he has not felt in a long time, kindness without cost. The waitress notices his expensive watch and suit and says quietly, "You are far from home, huh?" He smiles weakly. "Something like that." She laughs softly. "Not many fancy folks stop here at this hour." Ethan takes a sip of the coffee. It is bitter but honest. He asks her how long she has worked here. She shrugs, "Long enough to see a lot of people running from something." Her words hit him deeper than she knows. He looks down at his hands, the billionaire who ran from nothing, now running from himself. He asks, "Do people ever stop running?" She thinks for a moment. Maybe when they find something worth staying for. As they talk, a man enters the diner carrying a guitar on his back. He nods at the waitress and sits near Ethan. He looks rough but friendly. The waitress says, "Hey Tom, play something for us." Tom grins and begins to strum a soft tune, his voice gentle and cracked like an old radio. The song is about losing everything and finding yourself again. Ethan listens, his eyes fixed on the man. Every note feels like it was written for him. When the song ends, Tom smiles at Ethan and says, You look like a man who knows what that song means. Ethan chuckles, quietly, maybe more than you think. Tom nods, then says the trick is not to fear losing it all, because sometimes that is how you find what really matters. Ethan stares out the window, thinking of all he has lost: the plane, the company's trust, the public respect, but maybe there is something waiting beyond the fall. Maybe this journey has a reason he cannot see yet. The waitress brings him a slice of pie on the house, she says with a wink. He thanks her again, feeling the word grow softer, easier. Each time he says it, he finishes his meal and stands to leave. But when he checks his pockets, he realizes he does not have enough cash. Left embarrassment fills his face. He starts to explain, but the waitress smiles and waves her hand. Do not worry about it, just promise me you will pay it forward someday. Ethan hesitates, then nods, his throat tight with emotion. He walks out of the diner into the cool night air. The rain has stopped, the sky now clear and full of stars. He has not looked at the stars in years, too busy chasing things that shine less. He stands there for a long time, feeling small but peaceful. A sound breaks the silence. The same old man from the bus stop, Lewis, stands by the sidewalk, mop in hand. Ethan blinks in disbelief. Lewis smiles. Told you the sky looks different from down here. Ethan laughs, the first real laugh in a long time. How are you here? Lewis shrugs. Maybe the world just keeps sending me where I am. Needed. Ethan tells him about the diner, the people, the song, the pie. Lewis listens carefully, nodding slowly. Looks like the world is already teaching you, son. He says softly. You just have to keep walking and listening. Ethan looks down the quiet street, the light of the diner glowing behind him and the open road ahead. He feels something shift inside, not pride, not fear, something new. Hope, maybe. Lewis pats his shoulder before walking away back into the night. Ethan stands there watching him disappear into the darkness, his words still ringing in the air. Keep walking and listening. Ethan takes a deep breath and begins to walk again, his shoes splashing through shallow puddles. His heart lighter with every step. The town fades behind him, but he does not look back. He feels like each step is taking him closer to something important, something real. The road stretches ahead, long and silent. The wind cool against his face, he whispers to himself. Maybe this is where the story really begins. The morning light creeps slowly across the empty road as Ethan Cole walks toward the horizon. His shoes soaked his suit, wrinkled his heart, unsure of what he is looking for. The cold air bites his skin, but something inside him feels alive. For the first time in years, he no longer has a plan. No schedule, no assistant, no private jet, just himself and the open road. He passes a small sign that reads, Maple Creek Community Center. Volunteers needed. He stops and stares at it for a long time. The words look strange to him. Volunteer, he has hired thousands of workers but never lifted a hand without pay. He walks toward the building, curiosity tugging at his heart. Inside the center, the air smells of fresh paint and coffee. People move around, stacking boxes, sorting clothes, laughing together. Without judgment, a woman in her 50s notices him and smiles. Welcome, she says. You here to help, Ethan? Hesitates, unsure how to answer. Her smile stays warm, no questions about his name or past, just kindness. He nods. Yes, I guess I am. The woman introduces herself as Clara. She hands him a pair of gloves and points to a pile of boxes full of canned food. We are preparing for the flood victims. She says the storm last week left many families with nothing. Ethan nods and begins lifting boxes. They are heavy and his back aches quickly. He has not done real physical work in years. His hands shake, but he keeps going, sweat dripping from his forehead. Clara watches him quietly and says, You do not look like someone who works in warehouses. Ethan laughs. Softly, I guess I don't. She smiles again. Work is work, son. It all counts the same here. As he stacks the last box, a young boy runs through the door, his clothes torn, his face pale. He cries, Mama, Mama. They said we might have to leave again. Clara kneels and hugs him, whispering something soft and calming. Ethan watches them, his chest tight. This is real pain, not the kind caused by pride or money. This is life raw and unfair, yet somehow full of hope. Later, Clara brings Ethan a cup of tea and they sit outside on the step. She asks where he is from. He hesitates for a moment, then says, "Far from here." She nods, not pressing for details. "People who end up here usually are," she says with a knowing smile. Ethan stares at the small park across the street. Children playing on old swings, laughter mixing with the wind. It feels peaceful. Clara tells him her story. She once owned a bakery that closed after a fire. She lost everything but found meaning in helping others. Now this center is her second home. She looks at Ethan and says, "Sometimes losing everything is the only way to see what really matters." Ethan feels. The words hit him deep. He nods slowly, not trusting his voice to speak. As the day goes on, he works alongside the volunteers loading trucks, handing out food, helping an old man find his missing bag. No one treats him like a billionaire. No one asks for anything. He feels lighter, freer, his mind quieter. Each small act of kindness fills a space inside him that had been empty for too long. When the sun begins to set, Clara tells him the truck needs one more driver to deliver supplies to a nearby town. Ethan steps forward. "I can drive." She looks surprised. "Are you sure?" He smiles. "Yes. I think I need to see where this road leads." The truck is old and noisy. The seat's torn, but it moves steadily down the road. The orange sky glowing ahead. The man sitting beside him introduces himself as Javier, a local farmer. He lost his land in the flood. Yet he laughs easily as they drive, telling stories about his cows and the time he tried to teach a goat to dance. Ethan finds himself laughing too. Really laughing. Not the fake laugh he used in meetings, but the kind that makes your chest feel warm. When they reach the small village, people rush out to greet them. Faces tired but full of gratitude. Children wave hands high as they unload boxes. Javier pats Ethan on the back and says, "Feels good, doesn't it?" Ethan nods. It feels right as night falls. They sit by a small fire outside the village, eating simple soup. The stars above shine brighter than he has ever seen them. Javier asks, "What brought you here?" Ethan looks into the flames and answers softly, "I lost something, and I am trying to find it again." Javier nods. Sometimes what you find is not what you expect. A sudden shout breaks the calm. A child runs up crying. His sister is trapped near the river. The floodwaters are rising fast. Ethan and Javier jump to their feet, following the boy through the dark fields. The sound of rushing water grows louder. They reach the riverbank where a small girl clings to a broken fence. Her foot stuck between branches, the water rising around her. Without thinking, Ethan dives into the cold, muddy water. His heart pounding, he fights the current, reaching the girl and pulling her free. His muscles burn, but he keeps going. Javier throws a rope and together they drag her safely to the shore. The child coughs, then begins to cry. Ethan wraps his coat around her trembling body, relief washing over him like the wind. When the villagers gather around, cheering and hugging their children, Ethan steps back quietly, his clothes soaked, his body shaking. Clara's words echo in his mind sometimes. Losing everything is the only way to see what really matters. He looks up at the stars and feels something new inside. Not pride, not guilt, but peace. As he stands there, Javier smiles at him. "You are not from around here, are you?" Ethan shakes his head. "I used to live in a different world." Javier laughs. "Maybe that world was too small for you." Ethan looks toward the distant hills, the sound of the river fading, and whispers, "Maybe you are right." The night air is cold, but his heart is warm. For the first time in years, he feels truly alive. The morning sun rises over the village, painting the fields in soft gold light. The air smells of wet earth and smoke from small fires. People are already awake, carrying buckets, fixing fences, drying clothes. The flood has taken much, but their spirit remains strong. Ethan Cole stands by the river, his clothes still damp from last night, his body sore but his heart calm. For once he feels part of something real, something that cannot be bought. Children run past. Him laughing, the same little girl he saved waves from the distance, her smile wide and pure. He waves back, a small smile tugging at his lips. Javier walks up beside him holding 2 mugs of tea. one for each of them. He hands one to Ethan and says, "Not bad for a city man." Ethan chuckles softly. "Maybe I am learning." Javier nods. The world teaches fast when you listen. Ethan looks at the water flowing past and thinks of everything he left behind: his company, his mansion, his name, all the noise that used to fill his life, now replaced by quiet mornings and honest laughter. He remembers Clara's words about losing everything to find what matters, and he feels their truth in his bones. Later that day, he helps rebuild a broken bridge near the edge of the village, his hands blistered from lifting wood and rope. The villagers work together. No one arguing, no one competing, everyone helping. For the same reason, he watches them and feels a strange warmth. He used to measure people by what they could give him. Now he sees worth in what they give to others. At midday, Clara arrives with food for everyone. She smiles when she sees Ethan covered in dirt and sweat. She says, "You look human now." He laughs. "Maybe I finally am." She sits beside him, handing him a piece of bread, and says, "You know, you could stay longer. They could use your help." Ethan looks at her, surprised. No one has asked him to stay anywhere in years. People always wanted him for his money, not his presence. He looks around at the faces of people working, smiling, singing despite their loss, and something inside him whispers, "Maybe this is home, or maybe this is what home is supposed to feel like." But as the afternoon fades, a black car pulls into the village, its polished surface shining. Against the dirt roads, two men step out in suits clean and sharp. They walk straight toward Ethan. One of them calls his name loud enough for everyone to hear. "Mr. Cole, we have been looking for you." Ethan freezes his old life, catching up to him. The villagers look confused. Clara glances at him, her eyes full of questions. The man introduces himself as Richard, his company lawyer. He says, "Sir, your disappearance has caused chaos. Your board is panicking. Your name is all over the news. Investors are demanding answers. We need to get you back immediately." Ethan stands silent, listening to the words that once ruled his world. Richard continues, "Your company is losing millions every day without your leadership." Ethan looks down at his dirt-covered hands, the same hands that saved a child, built a bridge, helped strangers. He feels the weight of the choice pressing on his heart. One life full of power, control, and loneliness. Another filled with struggle, honesty, and peace. Javier steps forward, his face calm but firm. He asks, "Is everything all right?" Ethan hesitates before saying, "These men work for me, or they used to." The crowd falls silent. Richard interrupts, "Please, sir, the helicopter will arrive soon. We have a press meeting tonight." Ethan shakes his head slowly. "I am not going," Richard frowns. "This is not a request, sir." Ethan looks at him, his voice steady. "For the first time in a long time, I said, I am not going." The villagers exchange looks, unsure what to say. Clara steps closer and touches his arm softly. "You do not owe anyone anything except yourself," she says quietly. Richard sighs in frustration. "You are throwing everything away for what? For a few strangers." Ethan turns to face him, for truth, for peace, for something real. Richard stares at him, speechless. The man he once knew, obsessed with success, now standing in the dirt, smiling like a child who has just seen the sunrise. Ethan thanks the villagers for letting him stay. They cheer and clap, surrounding him with hugs and laughter. The children dance around his legs, their joy contagious. Javier grins. "I guess the city lost a good man." Ethan smiles. Maybe it gained one too. Later that evening, Ethan sits by the fire alone, watching the stars. He thinks about what he has lost and what he has found. He remembers Louis, the old janitor, and wonders if he was right. Maybe the world really does send people where they are needed. The sound of crickets fills the air, the village quiet and peaceful. He closes his eyes, breathing deeply. But deep down he knows this peace will not last forever. Tomorrow, there will be another test, another choice to make. Life always finds a way to ask more from those who finally start to listen. Suddenly he hears footsteps. Clara walks over, holding an envelope. She says, "This came for you. Someone from the city left it at the main road." He opens it carefully. Inside is a letter from his company board begging him to return, offering him more power, More control and more money than before he reads the words, but they feel empty. The letter ends with one sentence: "We cannot survive without you." He looks at the flames and whispers, "Maybe you were never supposed to. Maybe it is time for you to learn too." He throws the letter into the fire, watching it curl and burn until it becomes ash, the smoke rising into the night sky like a quiet promise of change. He looks at the stars again and says softly, "Tomorrow I will decide where I belong, but tonight I am free." The next morning comes quietly, the sun rising. Behind the hills, painting the village in shades of gold and pink, the air smells of dew and wet grass. Ethan Cole sits near the river, his reflection clear on the water, his thoughts deep and heavy. He feels the calm of a man who has walked through fire and come out clean, yet somewhere inside he knows another storm is waiting. Javier joins him holding 2 pieces of bread and says, "You did not sleep much." Ethan smiles a little. "I was thinking." Javier laughs. "Thinking can be dangerous out here. We prefer doing." Ethan nods. "Maybe that is what I need to do today." He walks back to the small cabin where he has been staying. The walls simple, the bed uneven, but it feels more like home than any mansion he ever owned. He finds the watch he left on the table, the same watch that once told him where to be and when. Now it only reminds him how much time he wasted chasing things that did not matter. He ties it around his wrist, not as a symbol of power, but as a memory of who he used to be. As he steps outside, Clara waits by the path, her face calm, her hands folded. She says, "The car from your company is still here. They are waiting." He nods. I know. She studies him for a moment and asks, "Are you going back?" He takes a deep breath, looking toward the horizon. "I think I have to, but not the same way I came." The villagers gather as he walks toward the car. Children wave, holding small flowers. Javier pats his shoulder and says, "Do not forget who you met on this road." Ethan smiles. "I could never forget." They reach the car. Richard, the lawyer, stands beside it, looking tired but relieved. "Sir, thank you for coming back. The board is desperate." Ethan looks at him and replies, "I am not coming back for them. I am coming back for what is right." They drive through winding roads, past green fields and small towns. The city grows larger, with every mile-tall buildings rising like towers of glass and noise. Ethan stares out the window, remembering the silence of the village and the laughter of the children. He wonders if peace can survive in a world built on speed and greed. When they reach his headquarters, reporters crowd the gate, flashing cameras, shouting questions. Ethan steps out of the car, his clothes simple, his hair messy, his eyes clear. They yell, "Where have you been? What happened? Why did you disappear?" He says nothing, just walks through the doors of his building, the same doors that once made him feel powerful. Now they feel heavy like stone. Inside his office, the board members wait, nervous and pale. They stand as he enters. "Sir, thank heavens you are back," one of them says. "The company is falling apart. We need you to take control again." Ethan looks around the room at the walls covered in awards, photos of him shaking hands with world leaders, all symbols of pride. Now they feel meaningless. He sits down quietly and says, "I am not here to take control. I am here to change how we do things." The room falls silent. The chairman frowns. "Sir, the market will not allow it." He replies, "Then maybe the market needs to change. We built this empire on greed and fear, and now it is eating itself. I will not let that continue." The board argues, but he stays calm, his voice steady. For once in his life he speaks from truth, not ego. He announces that part of the company's profit will go to rebuilding villages like the one that saved him. They protest, saying it will cost too much. He smiles gently. Maybe it will save more than it costs. News spreads fast. Billionaire returns with new mission. Headlines flash across every screen. People are shocked, confused, inspired. Some call him foolish, others call him brave. He does not care. He only cares that somewhere out there, a child might have food, a roof, and a reason to smile. Weeks pass. Ethan visits Maple Creek again, bringing supplies, tools, and new machines to help the farmers rebuild the villagers. Welcome him like family. Javier laughs and says, "Looks like you finally brought something useful from that big City. Ethan laughs back. Maybe I did, Clara watches from the doorway, her eyes soft with pride. She says you kept your promise. He nods. You were right. I did not owe anyone anything except myself. He spends the day helping fix roofs, planting trees, and teaching children how to read using tablets donated by his company. The same company that once forgot about the world outside its walls. Now learning to give instead of take, the laughter of the children fills the air, their joy brighter than any success he ever knew as the sun sets. Ethan walks to the river again, the same spot where his journey began, the water, calm and silver, the sound of crickets in the grass. He kneels and touches the surface, watching the ripples spread like rings of light. He whispers, "Thank you to the wind, to the people, to the lessons, to the life that broke him, just to rebuild him stronger." He looks up and sees a figure in the distance. It is Louis, the old janitor from the airport, pushing his cart along the dirt path. Ethan blinks in disbelief. Louis waves and says, "Told you the sky looks different when you stop trying to own it." Ethan laughs, his voice echoing across the water. "Yes, you were right, old man." Louis smiles and says, "Looks like you finally learned how to fly without wings." Then he turns and disappears down the path, his cart squeaking softly into the night. Ethan stands there for a long time, the stars glowing above him, the river whispering below. He takes one last deep breath, the air cool and sweet, his heart full, his mind clear. He knows he will keep walking, keep giving, keep learning, because life is not about how high you climb, but how many hands you lift along the way. And as the first stars appear in the sky, he smiles, knowing that sometimes falling from the clouds is the only way to see the light.